Hello, happy New Year, happy January, and happy World Carnivore Month. If you are not aware, World Carnivore Month was started, I think 6 or 7 years ago by Dr. Sean Baker. It was right around the time when Chris and I started carnivore for the first time. And I think he started it kind of as like a nod to the vegans do like vegan January. And he started it as a way to counteract that. And honestly, it's picked up a lot of steam since then. Really, January of 2020 was kind of like an explosion of carnivore. And then obviously we know what happened in March of 2020 and it lost a little steam. But the last couple of years, it's just been so exciting to see all of the interest and the excitement around carnivore in January. I am a big proponent of saying you don't have to wait till the first of the month or the first of the year to set new goals. But you know what? We're here. I love a fresh start. I love a fresh new month and I love a fresh new year and setting goals. So let me know in the comments, what is your goal for 2025? We're not going to call it a New Year's resolution because those don't last, but what is your main focus for improving your health in 2025? And that can potentially start with carnivore. Even if you don't plan on being carnivore forever, I think most people end up in this like mostly carnivore world where they have a couple of other things that they add in long term. And I think for most people, that's a great place to be. But you kind of don't know what foods you can tolerate and what foods you can handle until you give your body a really good reset and do carnivore for 30 days. It's really the perfect way to do an elimination diet and have a good understanding of how food is affecting your health and your goals. So that's what I'm excited to talk about tonight. Hopefully we can chat. I'll answer as many questions as I can. I also am doing a live stream, depending on when you're watching this. Today is the 29th of December. I'm also doing a live stream on January 2nd for my supporters in my locals community. I do a live stream there every week. You can join this community for free and get support, answer questions. It's kind of like a Facebook group, but without Facebook, where you get to post your own posts. I make posts every morning. All of that is for free. Like you can read all of my motivational posts every morning. I try to give you a little question to think about, hopefully some good podcasts and just motivation for living a healthy lifestyle. And then if you want to post your own stuff, if you want to join our live streams, you can come join this community. And I'll do one this Thursday, January 2nd, and then every week, depending on when you're watching this. I do them every week in there where it's a much smaller community. And I can't get to every question on YouTube, but I can in locals. And I make sure that I answer those posts that people make. A lot of people are making daily accountability posts. They post their food, they post their macros. We all give them advice, tweak them, and we try to help give them some encouragement on their way forward. So I'm seeing lots of familiar names in the comment section tonight, lots of new names too. So I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you're not feeling the carb hangover right now in this lost week. Even if you ate carbs and stuff on Christmas, hopefully we nipped it in the bud right after Christmas and got started right after that. And if you're researching right now and you're looking to start on January 1st for World Carnivore Month, great. That's awesome too. We encourage anybody at all times to get started living a healthier life. So let me check out the chat and we will see. We got Chris. We figured out, listen, I don't know what I'm doing in terms of YouTube and all of this YouTube stuff, but we think we figured out Chris and how to add him as a moderator, because the last few live streams, we've had a few detractors that I think now Chris will be able to figure that out because I can't read and talk at the same time. Okay, starting off strong. All right. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. It looks like Ryan. But first, World Carnivore Month. First of all, thank you for the super chat. If you send a super chat, they pop up and I see them very quickly, and then I'll try to answer as many other questions as I can, but I'll always do these first. First World Carnivore Month for me. Congratulations. I actually started carnivore in February this year and plan on doing beast mode along with dry January. That is awesome. You are in for like a world of reset, feeling good. You know, I think a lot of people maybe have done low carb or keto or carnivore, but if you're still keeping alcohol in, you really are not getting the full benefits. And you know, I was never a big drinker beforehand. Like it's harder for me to give up ice cream than it was to give up alcohol. So, but I know a lot of people, like, they want to keep in, especially on special occasions, having a drink or a glass of wine occasionally. And maybe that's something you can incorporate long term, but I will say you really just don't know how that's affecting you until you cut it out for a period of time. So it is really helpful, and I'm really proud of you for taking that step. And then beast mode is like, that means you've been watching and you kind of know what I'm talking about. Beast mode for me is just kind of going extra strict. I truly don't believe that there's one approach and one protocol and one way of doing carnivore that's right for everybody. Some people have to be more strict than others. Some people have to cut out all dairy forever, and some people can include spices. Like, how you do carnivore is a spectrum. And I think that's totally okay. I don't think we need to have this crazy strict dogma of like, what's a yes or no. Obviously, if it's an animal food and product, it's carnivore. And if it's not, it's not. But like, it kind of doesn't matter. So what I usually call just getting strict and being really serious is beast mode. And that looks different for everybody. We talk about that a lot in my locals community. But that is just that. Like, for me, I've been doing beast mode since the Monday before Thanksgiving. And I'm sure if you watch my videos, I was getting comments a couple of months ago about how I was blowing up or getting chunky, but I definitely have leaned out in the last 6 weeks or so. And my way of doing beast mode has just been to eliminate any and all snacking, eliminate 90% of my cheese intake. I've actually been eating more in 2 specific meals, but I've been doing 0 grazing. I talk about this a lot more in Nuance in my community, but Chris is deciding all of my meals. Just kind of was a fun way of us doing this, where I was getting a little decision fatigue, and then I wasn't planning ahead my meals, which meant that I was like being a little more reactionary with my meals, which then turns into too much deli meat and hot dogs and cheese and, quick stuff like that. And so when Chris is the one who's like planning my meals for me, he's kind of upping my fat a little bit. He's definitely not letting me have any dairy. And it's been really like just my way. I've added extra fasting in. I had kind of gotten out of most fasting routines for 2024. Listen, our family's had a crazy year. Somebody said, "Are you back from Spain?" Yes, we were there for 3 months. If in case you missed that, we were in Spain. My corporate job, I work like a normal 9-to-5 job, and I travel a lot for that. They sent our whole family to Spain so I could work out of our office in Madrid we were there April, May, and June. So we were just there for 3 months. But, at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of 2024, I was setting all kinds of goals for the year. And that was a big left turn for us and for our family. And I kind of just like lost my routine with meal timing and fasting, and I got a lot more relaxed. And obviously that can contribute to some weight loss, as much as we want to think that just like we are above it. I will be learning to maintain and manage my weight for the rest of my life. Okay. And this is not the encouragement that maybe you need to get started on carnivore, but I will say, like, losing the weight and hitting your goal weight is not the finish line. It is just the beginning. Okay. I lost weight and hit my goal weight 6 years ago. And I've spent the last 6 years, like, really trying to figure out how to keep it off long-term and just live a healthy lifestyle. And I'm still not perfect at it. So we have been in beast mode. I've lost a good amount of weight. I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling back to myself again. I'm like working on my better sleep and all the things. So yeah, I'm really super pumped to be here. Before we get too far down the road, I want to let you know, of course, that this video is sponsored by Element. One thing that can be really beneficial if you're looking to start carnivore is having a salt-based electrolyte. When you cut out all of those carbs, your body can flush out a lot of those natural electrolytes, and you need some salt to help keep you hydrated. If you're worried about the keto flu or the carnivore adaptation, if you're worried about headaches or some type of muscle aches and muscle soreness or leg cramps, if I'm not having enough salt-based electrolytes, I like wake up in the night with some foot cramps. I every morning and I've now switched. I used to do 40 ounces of water and I've now done 32. I like it a little more mineral, salty tasting. I do the unflavored element electrolytes. And then Chris starts every morning with the salted caramel mixed with some cold brew coffee. So he has like a salted caramel mocha. He loves that. We love the citrus. We love the grapefruit. Those are the sweetened, depending on how you tolerate sweeteners and things. If you're really trying to heal some gut issues or autoimmune issues, you might want to stay away from sweeteners and stick to the unflavored element like I do. But most people I know tolerate the stevia and the sweeteners just fine. But if you go to drinkelement.com/LauraSpath, you can get this free sample pack. And they're like the best customer service. They have 100% money back guarantee, and they will make sure that you're really happy with your purchase. So thank you to Element for sponsoring this video. And it's kind of just the perfect way to really get started. I saw this comment earlier. I wanted to pop back to, hello, Joe from Michigan. Do you have any homemade electrolyte recipes? Unfortunately, I cannot afford Element at this time. I need an alternative option for electrolytes. No problem. You can go to their website, go to Element's website, and they actually give you their entire recipe on their website. So you can, you could Google electrolyte recipes, search for one that is salt-based. I would definitely focus on that. You can pour some salt directly into your water and just find that ratio that makes you feel best. But if you want to replicate this exact packet just on your own at home and not have to, I love the packets because of the convenience of traveling with them. But if you just want to make your own and save money, Element gives you their exact recipes on their website. And so you can make all of those same ones. You could still go to drinkelement.com/LauraSpath and look for their recipes. And then you don't have to, you could use the exact same ratio that they do. And that's another great thing that they do for people. So I closed my bottle. Okay. Somebody said, what is dry January? I think they just mean like no alcohol. Yeah, no alcohol at all. But it's good. Tell me if you're starting carnivore or if you've been, I will say this, is this your first time doing carnivore? This is what I want to know. Is this January going to be your first time starting carnivore, or are you looking to restart, or are you just continuing what you've been doing? My mom has been visiting for the holidays, and she's like, man, I don't like this whole year being super strict around the holidays. There's like nothing around here. Sometimes in the past, I would have got her some like keto chocolates or keto treats. There used to be a keto bakery here in Arizona that was owned by a friend of mine. And I always used to get my mom some of those treats for Christmas. And so she could have like little keto cheesecakes and stuff around the holidays, but that business closed and I am being very strict right now. So my mom's like, she's doing really well too. She's visiting us for a couple of weeks and she's already lost 5 pounds being here for the first week. So we're hoping to keep her on a roll by the time that she goes home. Okay, good. Michelle, thank you. She said, love you, Laura. You have such a great friendly approach. Thank you. How do you feel about carnivore and keto style desserts? How often to incorporate? Sadly, I overindulge too much carbs over the holidays. I feel a little differently about the carnivore and keto treats. How often you can incorporate those, and if you can incorporate those, kind of depends on you. Like, how do those foods affect you? Like, do they negatively affect you? And also, do those foods make you crave other things? Because I know for myself, a lot of times the replacement foods or the keto desserts, they just make me like not actually satisfied because it's not the same as the old memories I have of the old toxic real sugar desserts. And then my body almost just like craves those things more. And any type of keto desserts and all of that almond flour or those sweeteners like gives me massive gut issues and bloating. And just, I end up feeling so inflamed and so gross. And then I'm just like, that was not even worth it. I would have rather had real ice cream or real something. And, it kind of just makes those cravings worse. And so that's for me, I do so much better without any of the keto replacement foods. And I kind of feel the same way about carnivore, like carnivore replacement foods. I know there's some like carnivore ice creams or carnivore cakes or carnivore other stuff, and maybe it doesn't even have any sweeteners in it. But if my brain thinks dessert and then I eat it and it's not sweet, I'm like, ugh, now I just want a real dessert. So, some people, those are a bridge for you, and you can have a keto dessert and it helps you to not have other real desserts, and you can have a small amount. But I'm going to be honest, I think most people can't actually moderate those things, and most people don't feel that good having those things. And so I think, you know, you don't actually know if it's going to get rid of your cravings until you actually cut it out. And so I personally find that having none is so much easier than having some, because the minute I have one, I want all of them. I feel that way with real sugar. I feel that way with keto sweets. I feel that way with everything. I just can't moderate any of that kind of stuff. And so it doesn't mean it's hard. It's easy to have none. It's very difficult to have none. It's just easier to have none than it is to have one. I'm like an addict in that way completely. One thing I want to mention, and I just forgot, Chris is going to drop a link in the chat for you. This coming, depending on when you're watching this, if you live in Arizona, this coming Saturday, there is a Healing Humanity event that is happening. It's a local meetup here in Arizona. And it is a fundraiser for, they're making a carnivore movie, a carnivore documentary talking about healing and the healing powers of carnivore. So if you live locally, they are having, like they're calling an Inspiring Stories event. They've rented out a movie theater. There's going to be a bunch of us that are going to be sharing some stories. We're going to do like hang out with people, talk to people, and then they're doing a dinner afterwards at a Brazilian steakhouse, which is obviously the perfect place to have a whole bunch of carnivores to get together. So if you live locally, they are selling tickets for that. And then all the proceeds from those ticket sales go directly to funding their documentary. And I know they've been doing events all around the world. They just did one in the UK. They've done them all around the country. And then, yes, several people have helped crowdfund that movie, which is fantastic. So if you don't live locally and you want to help support that, you could still go to their website. But Chris is just put the link in the chat for you. But it's a Healing Humanity event. And Chris and I will be there this coming Saturday, January 4th, as well as I think quite a few other people that are going to be sharing their story. And then, you know, we'll have a good time. So it's going to be great. Okay, let me think. Would cheese be allowed on a carnivore diet? So my suggestion is if you're brand new, you're coming from a standard American diet, you're just getting started, like, sure, have some cheese. I think, though, you have to be very careful not to overeat cheese. It can cause inflammation. It can cause digestive issues. It can cause cravings. It's very easy to overeat cheese and things like heavy cream. So my suggestion is, especially if you're first getting started, I think you don't want to put so many limitations on yourself that it's hard to stick to it. Because the number one rule about all of this is you have to be able to stick to this for it to work. But my suggestion for cheese is to treat cheese like a condiment. So have a little sprinkle of cheese on your eggs, have some cheese on your burger patties, fine. Don't treat cheese like a side dish, or don't treat cheese like a snack. You kind of want to stay away from snacking on cheese or processed meats and that kind of stuff, just because you're not then really going to see the full results of it. So is cheese allowed? I would say, especially if you're just getting started, yes, in moderation. But at some point, if your weight loss is stalled, you're getting stuck, you're still dealing with some skin issues or some inflammation or arthritis issues, cutting the cheese and the heavy cream out. The same goes with like any type of dairy. You know, there's a lot of people who are going to tell you that raw dairy, other dairy, like it's just cheese is cheese. I can overeat raw dairy versus the same as other dairy. So you kind of have to go based on how you feel. Yeah, we just started eating carnivore in the last 2 months. My husband is all in for carnivore. I eat carnivore, but I still have just a few berries and a small amount of cooked vegetables. That's kind of the spectrum that I'm talking about. And I will say, though, that like, as long as you can be honest with yourself about how many berries are you really eating, how many vegetables are you really eating, and again, like in a positive way. My mom is somebody who like does incorporate things like berries or small amounts of vegetables occasionally. But the problem is sometimes they add up. And so she's been here for, a week, and she's like not eating any vegetables, any berries, any fruit, any really processed meats at all. And she's not doing any snacking, and she's lost 5 pounds. And she's been doing this for a long time. So, you have to be pretty careful about those things. And for a lot of people, vegetables, if you're diabetic and you're trying to reverse diabetes, like keep the fruit out. You can't, sugar is sugar to your body. You got to keep a lot of that fruit out. And you're not going to be able to really reverse things until you cut out literally all sugar. And then for me, any type of digestive or like any type of vegetables cause digestive issues. Are condiments allowed? I would say that kind of along those same lines. Like, we do a lot of condiments, but we are really careful about keeping out sugar, seed oils. Those are things that you really have to be aware of. And I would just try to keep them very, very minimal. And just know that if you're eating traditional ranch dressing with seed oils and it's like a little bit, it might be fine. But if you're eating like a quarter cup, a half a cup a day, a lot of that, the inflammation is going to add up, and you're not getting a lot of good nutrients from that. And so those are things that can stall you in the same way that something like dairy is going to stall you. What are your thoughts on chicken flour? I have never tried chicken flour. I think it's something, there's a company that sells it, I think, but like I've never tried anything like that. But if it's just chicken, I don't think there would be any problem with it. I think though too, I have a recipe on this channel about like chicken strips. And we actually did, like, my most recent recipe video was we took wings and we coated them in Parmesan cheese and pork rind crumbs, and it gave it like a little bit of an extra crunch. So sometimes, like if you're wanting like a new texture, maybe something, I don't know what a chicken flour would do, but you can kind of like make your own little breading with Parmesan cheese and pork rinds and stuff. But I will say that, especially if you're just getting started, I would really keep it simple. Like the reason why I think for a lot of people, like keto wasn't sustainable is that keto is really expensive when you start buying all of the keto replacement foods, the artificial sweeteners, the almond flours, all the special keto products. Like, first of all, most of those are not actually going to end up being keto, and they're really going to stall your weight loss, and it's going to cause a lot of issues. But also, like, anytime you're buying some type of replacement food or packaged food or pre-made food, the cost of that is really going to add up. Pork rinds, clean pork rinds that are just made with pork rinds and salt, are very inexpensive. But the minute you buy pre-made pork rind crumbs, that is very expensive, okay? And so if you're trying to keep this cost effective, I would try to stay away from all of the ingredients and the stuff that you packaged stuff and the stuff that you have to buy, and just stick with whole, real foods. And I also think that, when I went on a vegan diet, okay, I was meal prepping every Sunday. I would literally spend all day long meal prepping because I was eating 6 times a day, and I was roasting and cooking and making smoothie bowls and doing all this. I was like prepping all my food for the week. These days, meal prep for us is thaw some meat and then eat it the next day. And then maybe once a month, I make myself a big batch of meatballs and I put them in the freezer. So I have really quick, easy grab meals. I have that recipe also here on this channel. That's something that I don't have a ton of recipes, because for the most part, we really do just keep things really simple. It's bacon and eggs. It's meat on the grill. It's meat in the air fryer. It's meat on the stove. And then I have a couple of recipes that we might incorporate occasionally. But the more simple you can keep it, the cheaper it's going to be. And the more sustainable it's going to be, because it's not super time consuming. Like, that's one of those things with carnivore is like, what do I do with myself when I'm not spending so much time in the kitchen anymore? What am I supposed to do with myself when I'm not having to do all this meal prep and grocery shopping? Like, everything is just so simple. And so I really would keep it as simple as possible. And then, you know what? If you're really going nuts and you want to try a fun new recipe on the weekends, great, you can incorporate that. But again, with keto, like, you don't have to buy all these crazy ingredients or look up recipes. It's really just about learning how to cook meat that you really enjoy. That would be my suggestion. Okay, once I go on a rant, then I totally lose my place and I have to catch back up again. Okay, this is a quick one. Off topic, is the family still doing jujitsu? Yes. Well, not me. I don't do that. My kids and Chris are all still doing jujitsu. This year, again, was a big year for our family in so many ways. You know, we started the year, we went on like a family vacation that we thought was going to be our big adventure for the year. And then little did we know we were going to go to Spain and do all this stuff for my job. And then the second half of the year has been crazy as well. But Chris turns 50 in 2 weeks. And he just earned his purple belt in jiu-jitsu a few months ago. And the kids a couple of months ago earned their yellow and white belt. So that kind of means the kids have been doing jiu-jitsu for almost 4 years. Their 3 months we were in Spain didn't count. They were still doing jiu-jitsu in Spain, but it didn't count towards them earning their belts. So they've been doing it for about 4 years collectively. And Chris has been doing it for 3, and he started about 6 months after them for 3.5 years. And so he is healthier now at almost 50 than he's healthier now at almost 50 than he was when he went into the military at, I think 20. He went to the military and was on like a weight management program at 20 years old in the Marine Corps. So yeah, that would be, or the Air Force. Oh my gosh, I just said the wrong one. That's a cardinal sin. You can't do that. How about cream cheese, cottage cheese, shredded cheese? I love cheese. I still would agree. Like, you have to treat those like a condiment, have them occasionally. Cottage cheese has a lot of carbs in it. So be careful of that. If you're trying to lose weight, cream cheese, cottage cheese, that is going to add up really quickly. Shredded cheese, like, I mean, I get brutalized every time I post a video of me using pre-shredded cheese because it's toxic and terrible. And it's what makes this sustainable for me. So like, there are some things you got to worry about. Maybe don't drink straight up seed oil ranch dressing. But if you're using a pre-shredded cheese, like, live your life. I don't know. You got to do what you got to do. But I would just treat those really cautiously. I love not worrying about sides anymore. Yes, I love that. It is so easy. You're wasting so much less food, number one. And then you know what? If you miss having a side, you know what your side dish can be? It can be another meat. It could be bacon. It could be chicken. It could be pork belly. Like, we have sides every main meal that we have. It's just a second meat, shrimp, fish. Like, those are all meatballs as a side to all of our stuff. So you definitely can still have sides if you want, but it is really nice not having to worry about a bunch of different stuff all of the time. Why do I smell so bad on keto carnivore? What can I do to get rid of it? There is something called like keto breath, but there is this like reaction that happens as your body is transitioning from carb burning mode to fat burning mode, and you can get a funky breath, or your body's kind of like detoxifying a little bit. I don't know anybody who's been doing this strict for a long time. Like, it usually is just that transition period that you're dealing with that odor. I would say, like, make a mention in the comments. Like, I actually just realized I forgot to put on deodorant today, and I'm just like checking myself if I smell. I notice I smell a lot less being carnivore, and I think that's kind of the general consensus that people find. I would think if you are still dealing with some type of smell, you might be stuck in the middle. Like, this is one of those things that if you're having small amounts of carbs, if you're having vegetables, if you're having fruit, or some type of too much dairy, if you're having some keto treats, you might be stuck in the middle of this fat and carb burning mode. And that's this place where you're going to not feel your best. You're probably not reducing all that inflammation. You're not really losing weight. But then you also are kind of stuck in that stanky area. So I would say maybe like try a little bit of a fast to kind of kick your body into that motion, or see if like there's anything you're having that's processed, too much deli meat, too much dairy. Is there anything that you need to do to like cut things out? Laura, I want to incorporate carnivore, but my burps are atrocious. Again, this is one of those things that I experience a lot of that type of like bubble guts and stuff with vegetables and any types of like sweeteners and stuff. The only time I experience that with carnivore is if I have too much fat. Like if I eat brisket, and I don't know if it's the smokedness, if it's the seasonings, if it's literally just that rendered fat. For some people, all of that fat can cause diarrhea and it can cause burping. I would focus on taking some type of digestive enzymes, and I will link some in the description of this video when I'm done streaming. Let me write that down because my mom, a lot of people find that really helps. So some type of ox bile or digestive enzymes. If you don't have a gallbladder, that can be really effective. My mom was experiencing gallstones and she still is eating like really fatty, but she has to take 2 of those ox biles with her meal. And then it really eases that as your body is getting used to it. So I would think that if you took 2 of those at the same time as your meal, that helps the fat break down in your gut. And then you shouldn't experience as much of the diarrhea, as much gallbladder issues if you have no gallbladder or gallstones. And then also it should hopefully eliminate some of those burpee issues. Happy advanced birthday to Chris. Yeah. So we have a big year for us. Chris turns 50, I said, in January, and then I turned 40 in April. We are 10 years apart. Which is fun. Then for like 3 months, I'm like 10 years and a few months. So like, it sounds like 11 years for a couple of months. So that'll be fun. Do you have a mediator to help with questions? No. Well, me. Chris is trying to this time. This is the first time we're trying to have Chris do it in case there's somebody crazy. He just is going to boot people if anybody gets inappropriate, which sometimes happens. Do you have any non-toxic air fryer suggestions? No, I think I just have seen through like my Facebook feed, there's some new air fryer that everybody's been advertising that's listed as non-toxic. So first of all, Madeline, thank you for the super chat. I didn't say that yet. I saw that I don't know anything about that. It looks like it still has a non-stick coating on it, so I'm not really sure what makes it non-toxic. I know Cuisinart has a full stainless steel one. I have not tried that. I do my best to use non-stick or non-toxic appliances, but I also will say, and maybe I'm naive in this way, but I kind of feel like as long as you're not scratching them and chipping them, like the problem with those non-toxic coatings is when they start to scratch and chip and then you're like eating those flakes. Like obviously that's very toxic. So we do have like a normal Ninja air fryer that's non-stick. So I'm not sure if people would consider that one toxic or not. But I only use like silicone tongs. We're very careful when we wash it. And so then you also could use like an air fryer liner. They make like parchment paper liners if you were wanting to avoid it touching those surfaces. But again, I think there are like, if you truly want to go non-toxic, I know there's like all stainless options. And I know for a fact Cuisinart has one that's like the whole entire interior is stainless. It's just, with anything that's all stainless or non-toxic, it's very difficult to clean. So that would be something that you would need to be aware of. Yeah, I smell way better on carnivore. That is the more general consensus. I do hear people that say that they have those issues. I smell like onions big time. So I wonder, like, if you're not eating onions, that's a really odd thing. I had a steak a couple of weeks ago on my last YouTube video. I ate this really big ribeye and it came, which I didn't know, on like a sizzling pan. And underneath of that ribeye was like a bunch of onions. And so I tried to not eat the onions, but I got a lot of that onion flavor. And I did get a couple of pieces of onion as I was eating my steak. I had like onion burps and onion smells, what felt like for a couple of days. So you definitely have to be aware of, eating in restaurants is always pretty sketchy. And obviously if you want to be perfect carnivore, you should never eat out ever. You should only eat at your house from meat that you harvest yourself. That's the way to be perfect carnivore. Obviously, that's not realistic. So I got a lot of flack on that video I posted because I was traveling for work. I didn't have anything prepared and I ate out every single meal. And, there was some comments of people saying like, this is terrible. This is, you should be ashamed that you didn't prepare and you are setting a bad example for people. Like, I mean, I have to live my life. So I can't be perfect all of the time. That's the biggest thing. we have to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves that we have to be perfect all the time. I think you need to do the best you can. And if you can avoid eating in restaurants all the time, that's great. And especially if you're getting started, I'll tell you what, eating in restaurants on a carnivore diet is expensive and it's probably not going to be ideal. You're probably going to have some type of not great seasonings or seed oils or something. That's what you have to be aware of. So it is best to eat at home. That's not always an option, or you just are going to miss out on some things in life that you love. A lot of times if I'm going out to restaurants with friends or coworkers, sometimes I just don't eat. I'll eat before I go, or I'm fasting. I don't mind just sitting there and like drinking, water or something while they're all eating. But sometimes I just want to eat and I just do the best that I can. Trying to get frozen meat through TSA. You could take unthawed, or you could take thawed meat. I've taken just like a cold steak in a Ziploc bag. And if you're in the US, you can have an ice pack. As long as that ice pack is frozen, you can take an ice pack with you through security. I used to travel with ice packs, but now I travel with like a medical bag that I fill up with ice before I leave home. And that way, if, I'm always staying in hotels. So if the ice is thawed and there's no freezer, I can just dump out the water from that, it's like the big blue bag with the screw top lid. And then I can fill it up from an ice machine, or worst case, I go through security and I find a restaurant to give me some ice. And I usually am holding up this medical bag and I'm like, can I get some ice? And they feel bad because they think so. I don't say anybody's injured, but they assume somebody's injured because it's like a medical bag. But I use that for my lunchbox. And then I take my food in there as well. Yeah, the good cannot be the enemy of the best. And that's the other quote that I use that's really similar to that, is like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Obviously, as much as possible, we try. The quicker you want results, the more you want healing, the more perfect you need to be. And it's kind of just the way that it is. But the more good options you have for when you can't be perfect, the longer you're going to stick to this. And what do we think is more ideal? Like, what do you think is going to give you better results long-term? Being perfect for a month or being good for 6 months? If you cannot sustain perfect in your normal life with normal stress and your job and your chaotic life and traveling and vacations, if you can't be perfect all the time, and that's the only option that you've given yourself, which means then when things don't go perfect, you completely fall off the wagon and you lose all your momentum and you go back to what you were doing before, which obviously wasn't working because here you are, then it doesn't matter how perfect you can be if you can't sustain that long term. And I lost my weight initially very quickly. I lost 120 pounds in 10 months because I was perfect. I was perfect for 10 months because I cut out everything else in my life except focusing on losing weight and eating healthy. But then what happened was I couldn't sustain that perfect. And stress happened and life happened and I completely fell off and I gained a ton of weight back. And I've spent the last 6 years like trying to figure out like, how can I be perfect a lot of times, but then good every other time? Like, don't go from perfect to terrible. Like, this is the life that I have lived most of my life. You lose 50 pounds, you gain 60. You lose 20 pounds, you gain 40. You lose 30 pounds, you gain 50. Like, I've only ever given myself the option of being perfect for most of my life. And that always resulted in something happening that didn't allow me to be perfect. And then I ended up all the way back to doing what I was doing before, and I gained all my weight back because I didn't shorten that. Now I go from perfect to like good to, okay, we're still hanging in there, but we're not all the way back here again. Okay. So right now I'm in beast mode, which means that pretty much everything is 90% perfect. I don't even call myself 100% perfect all the time because I'm sure we went to In-N-Out for lunch today and I had cheese on my burger patties. And I know somebody's going to tell me that's not perfect or In-N-Out's not perfect. So I'm in 90% beast mode, doing really good right now. But then there's other times where I just am like hanging in there and doing okay. And I'm snacking and I'm eating in restaurants and I'm doing all like, we have to find a way to just do the best that we can so that we're not swinging all the way back in the other direction. Yeah. Perfect label. Let's label it properly. Unreasonable. And I said this, I have a new video coming out on the 1st, and I said this in that video, but like I could write you a meal plan. I could hand you over meal timing, macros, exact food you need to eat. And then this, if you follow this, you will be successful. And there's a lot of people out there that will give you a program that are off. It's January 1st. There's a lot of people out there not knocking any of those options, but there's a lot of people that are giving you a meal plan to follow right now. And they're offering that up. That meal plan is only as successful as your ability to stick with it. I reached out very early on in this journey to a fasting expert, and I was like, what is the best fasting protocol for me to stick to in order to lose weight? What type of fasting should I do in order for me to lose weight the fastest? And his answer was, whatever one you can stick to. And I got very irritated with him because I was in this moment of like, I'm going to do anything I can to lose weight as fast as possible. But the longer that I do this, the more I realize how right he was. Because if he had given me some perfect fasting protocol, but I couldn't stick to it, it doesn't matter if it's the right one. Like the right fasting protocol is the one that is going to work for my lifestyle. If you do one meal a day, people are like, I saw this, actually, I was scrolling on Facebook yesterday or today or something. I saw in World Carnivore Tribe, somebody saying, if I'm only going to eat one meal a day, when should I do it? Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? You should have that meal whenever works best for your schedule. Do you need to have dinner with your family? Do you come home from work and want to sit down and enjoy that time with your family? Then you should have your one meal a day at dinner time, because otherwise you're going to feel like you're sacrificing on family time or on your lifestyle, that something about your life that you really enjoy, you're going to be sacrificing not having that, which then over time is going to make you resentful and you're not going to be able to stick to this. For us, lunch is the best time for us to do one. Like Chris does one meal a day, and he has for pretty much 7 years. And he does that at lunch. He isn't hungry in the morning. He goes and exercises at the gym and jujitsu all in the morning before he eats. He has a really big meal at lunch, and then he doesn't eat the rest of the day. But you know what? For a long time, I was working in an office at my corporate job for lunch, and like I couldn't have that. Like I was eating microwaved leftover food every day. I don't want that to be my only meal for the day. It was a miserable meal because it was all a bunch of cold food and leftovers. And so that wouldn't have been sustainable for me. And so as much as like, what's the perfect protocol for you? The most important aspect of all of that is like, are you able to stick to this? And are you going to be able to be consistent? And I really encourage you that this is not about carnivore. But as you're setting your goals for 2025 and as you're setting your New Year's resolutions and your January goals, I would encourage you to like take a step back and find like what is the one realistic thing that you can stick to no matter what. And in my locals community, we are all setting goals right now, and I call this my non-negotiable. You can set yourself fasting goals, exercise goals, food goals. You're going to go carnivore. You're going to do all these great things. It's January 1st, new year, new me. I'm going to be a new person. It's going to be amazing. This is my year to like do all the amazing things. Of all of those goals that you're giving yourself, pick one that's like simple and realistic and attainable, and something that says, no matter what happens, I will stick to that this year. And maybe it's you're going to go for a 20-minute walk every day, rain or shine, no matter what. Like that is a habit that you want to build in order to be healthy. And maybe it's literally just no donuts. No matter what else happens this year, I'm going to be carnivore. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do all these things. But no matter what, I'm going to just have no donuts because those are my downfall in every circumstance. Like, or no alcohol. Like, what is that thing that you can set a very simple, realistic goal for yourself? So at the end of the day, if you say, man, I totally screwed up. I didn't eat carnivore. I totally caved. I had this other food. I didn't get my exercise in. But you know what? I stuck to that non-negotiable. I did the thing I said I was going to do. So let's pat myself on the back. We wake up tomorrow and we move on, and we don't beat ourselves up so much. The minute you start treating yourself like you're a failure and you've given up is the minute that, like, I think it's like January 16th is known as like the third weekend of January is known as quitting weekend, because it's by the third weekend of January, everybody's quit their New Year's resolutions already. So set all kinds of goals. I love a new year. I love all the goals. But what is the one simple, realistic, attainable thing that you could set your mind at to achieve this year that is going to help you achieve consistency, so that when you're looking at December 29th of 2025, you can look back and say, I finished the year better than I started. And if you don't hit 100 pounds weight loss this year, like if it takes you twice as long as you hoped to lose all the weight or to get healthy or whatever that is, then wouldn't you be in a better place versus I certainly would have been, if it took me 2 years, 3 years to lose 120 pounds instead of the 1 year that it took me, you know what? It probably would have been more sustainable for me. And I wouldn't have had this big weight loss or weight gain and then re-loss and all of these little ups and downs. Like if I just would have figured out from the beginning how to be more consistent, maybe I wouldn't have had to deal with some of those bigger setbacks like I did, because there's too much of it. Like there's too many times where we go all in so hardcore that then the minute one little thing doesn't go well, we completely fall off the wagon and we give up on everything and we go back to what we were doing before. And that's the real secret of carnivore and this lifestyle is like, you know, I don't even like saying it out loud, but like this has to be forever. This is, you know, we can never go back to that lifestyle that we were living before. And we have to stop thinking about this as like a short-term weight loss hack diet. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of other ways to do that quicker. And this is maybe not the quickest way that you could do it. Okay, let me catch up on comments. This is what happens. I said I go on a rant and then I lose. Okay, yes. If you're in Arizona, Chris is reminding us, if you're in Arizona, Laura and I are speaking at the Carnivore Success Stories meetup next weekend, which is January 4th. Chris has put the link for that in the chat, and it's benefiting the Healing Humanity documentary. And then I will link when we're done. Chris, remind me to put that in the description. So if you're watching this on the replay, you don't have to just go to the description of this and find that. Are you still losing or maintaining now? What do you do when you get stalled? That's a good question. You know, I will probably for always in my life be in some type of weight loss mode, or like, you know, I probably go back and forth. Like I will always be, because of my relationship with food, I'm sure that I will never be done. Like there is no like, I'm done worried about weight loss and all that. So I do spend some time in maintenance mode. But again, for me, that maintenance mode just means like I probably eat a little more freely, more often, more cheese, you know, a few things like that. And then I have to like really tighten things up. But instead of going from super strict carnivore to binging and being crazy on junk for a while, I am now in this, like, we're sticking to like this range where I find that I'm not ever like having massive, you know, issues, but I still am always going to have like, I'm still always going to have times where I'm in weight loss mode. My weight is just, it's just a natural thing. Like our bodies are not designed, and then maybe, you know, unless you are somebody who can wake up every day, eat the exact same things every day, move the same every day, and have your hormones stay the same every day. Like it's never going to be this like stable thing forever. I will never be somebody that could just like go back to normal or eat what I want and not gain weight. I can like watch some reels on my phone of somebody baking bread and I gain weight. So, you know, I definitely day to day have this mindset of like weight loss or maintenance mode. But for me, anytime I want to worry about breaking a stall, for me, that's incorporating fasting. It's just the easiest leverage for me. You know, there's other levers that you can pull in terms of losing weight or breaking a stall. You can adjust your fat to protein ratio. You can adjust the amount of food that you're eating. You can adjust your exercise routines. Like that's a lot of work. Like those are all three great options, and they may be a better option for you. For me, the easiest one where I'm not calculating things and I'm not having to worry about, I just get to eat the meat that I want and I don't really have to worry about all of that other stuff, is just fasting. You know, I can do a 48. I just actually finished. I broke my fast today at lunch. I was super busy yesterday and I just naturally, like my adrenaline was pretty high because we were kind of running around doing a bunch of stuff. And so I just didn't eat yesterday. And I had been like at a little bit of a stall for the last couple of weeks. I woke up this morning and the scale had dropped a couple of pounds, but it's because I did that 48-hour fast. Now maybe it'll go back up a pound again since I ate today. But for me, that fasting is the easiest leverage to pull. And I think that doing some fasting can come after you have been doing carnivore or you've gotten off the carbs for a couple of weeks. Usually fasting comes a little more naturally. And then I also will say it's important not to do extended fasting like that. Like I mentioned, if you have been under eating, if you're eating 1,000 calories a day and then you add like a 48-hour fast on top of it, it's not a good time to be doing some fasting. But if you are having issues with eating all day, you're overeating, you're having tons of cravings, your appetite seems out of control, a 48-hour fast is like the perfect reset for me to reset my appetite, lose some weight, just dial in my brain, my stomach, like get in touch with my real hunger cues. I think anytime I'm gaining weight, it's just because I'm grazing way too much and I'm eating too many processed meats and cheeses. And so anytime that I need a little bit of a mental reset, a cravings reset, and then a weight loss reset, I just throw a fast in there. I pick a day when I'm super busy and I try to stay away from the kitchen, and that makes it a lot easier. Also, if you are trying to reverse type 2 diabetes, lower your A1C, lower your baseline glucose, fasting is going to be the best way to do that. And then for a lot of people, like my husband and my mom, fasting was necessary. It was the determining factor. Like carnivore was amazing. Carnivore is amazing at stabilizing your glucose and stabilizing your blood sugar. But if you want to lower that baseline, like your baseline blood sugar is just sitting too high and your A1C is too high, there is a necessity to incorporate longer fasting. Dr. Jason Fung has a book called The Diabetes Code, and he talks about 36-hour fast, 48-hour fast in order to lower your A1C and reverse your type 2 diabetes. And my mom and Chris both absolutely had to incorporate that in order to achieve those results. And so, there's a lot of levers that you can pull in order to lose weight. But to me, that one is just the easiest one and the simplest one. Okay, Colleen says there's only 2 dinner tickets. They're doing 2 separate tickets for Saturday. It's like the daytime and then the dinner. So that is it for sure. I'm catching up. Okay. Okay, good. Madeline said, I've been sharing my non-negotiable on locals. I've been away for a few days, but ready to pick it up. Beast mode for January for sure. Definitely. Good. There's a lot of us who are in that community. I always take some time to reflect. Anytime we finish a month and start a new year, I think it's really important to reflect on what went well for you over this last month, or in this case, like over the last year. So today in locals, we've been celebrating like what's the best thing that's happened to you in 2024? What is your biggest weight loss win? What is your biggest health win? What's just the best thing that's happened to you in your life? Tomorrow, we're going to focus on like, where were the setbacks? What happened that went wrong for us this year in terms of our health or weight, or just like mistakes that we made, detours where did we get off track? And then we really take some time to think about like, how did that happen? Like, how did I get off track for 3 months in the summer? Where was the beginning of that decision? Where was the moment, or where was the incidences that happened that led me to a 3-month sidetrack in the middle of the summer? And then we really focus on like learning from those situations. Like, how can we avoid that happening this year? Let's look for those situations. Let's talk about how did it happen and what would I do next time if I was in that same situation to learn from it, to minimize where I don't get off track for 3 months. Maybe it's 3 days before I'm able to like get myself back on track again. And then that will lead us up to, Tuesday, or that'll be the next 2 days. And then we'll focus on what's my one non-negotiable goal for 2025, and what is the one thing that I'm going to stick to in order to end my year a year from now better than I started. Do you have to fast to bring down your A1C or carnivore, or will it come down automatically? I can't say for you for sure specifically. It kind of depends on like how high is your A1C and what were you eating before this. If your A1C is sky high and you're eating a bunch of carbs and junk right now, just going carnivore, you are going to see some improvement in it. But depending on like how much sugar is built up in your liver and how insulin resistant you are, and like how much stored sugar you have like deep in your organs, it's never going to come down to a baseline level until you burn out that stored sugar. And the best and easiest way to do that is by fasting for an extended period of time. And this is why some people, when they first start fasting and they do their first 36-hour fast, they're like, my blood sugar actually spiked up after 24 hours. Why did that happen? Well, that's because your body is burning fat and it's looking for that. It's burning off that stored sugar. And there's this, Chris is better at explaining this than me, the scientist. It's like this glyconetic or whatever it is, the glycogenic response, where you are tapping into that stored sugar that's deep in your organs and you're burning it out. And that's when you're going to see your baseline sugar lower and your A1C lower. So you don't necessarily have to do fasting. It kind of just depends on like, how bad was it? How bad were you eating before? And what's the switch happening now? But for a lot of people who have done serious damage to their organs, who have been diabetic for a very long time, who have had a high A1C, listen, the more sick that you were, the more unhealthy that you were, the longer it's going to take and the more aggressive you have to be in order to heal and to reverse those things. So there are definitely stories like here, my A1C was 5.9, went on carnivore in 3 months without fasting. It came down to 5.4. Fantastic. That is definitely possible. If you are not seeing that type of results, or if your A1C was much higher than that to begin with, if you've been sicker for a long period of time, when Chris went carnivore, when he first found out he was diabetic, his A1C was 11.9. And then, I think it was actually 11.9 when he, I don't remember what it was, but then he was only diabetic for, I think 3 years before we went carnivore. And so he was able to reverse his diabetes and bring his A1C down to like a 4.9 within a matter of months, and saw very quick results. And a lot of that is because he was only diabetic for 3 years. Now, granted, most of you guys know his story of contracting necrotizing fasciitis, and he almost died. Like, he went into the hospital on Christmas Day. I think it was, 8 years ago now. And so Christmas is always like a really sentimental time for us to remember when we almost lost him from his diabetic complications. But he was able to reverse things very quickly because of the fact that he was only diabetic for a few years. My mom had been diabetic for like 10 years, and it took her a lot longer to reverse those things. And she had to do a lot more fasting, and it took her more months. And she's a woman who was postmenopausal. Like, there's a lot of other factors. So it's hard to give out exact times of things that you should expect to see results at a specific amount of time. There's a lot of factors for you that come into play. All right, we have just a couple of minutes left. This always goes so fast. Just as a reminder, I'm going to be doing a live stream in a couple of days, Thursday, January 2nd, in my locals community. That is you can join the community for free and kind of read the posts that I make every morning. But if you want to do the live streams and then post your own stuff and questions, then you need to be a supporter. And that's only $10 a month. Or I think there's a deal where you could pay for the year and get a couple, like 3 months of a discount. So it's kind of up to you. A lot of it is just, it gets away a lot of the trolls. And I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube comments and Instagram DMs, because like 90% of Instagram DMs are some type of like booty call thing. I don't even know. Like, I don't want to say the P word because maybe you'll spot my block my YouTube stream right now. But it's usually some type of like scammy, gross thing. And then a lot of YouTube stuff, it's just hard to find like people who really want to heal. And so it's a minimal, cost to join, but it just helps me to help the people that want to be helped. And then it creates a really wonderful space for us to all encourage each other. And we've literally never had any issues with negativity or crazy people in there. So we always try to do that. Okay. Starting January 1st, keep me in your prayers. We are, Jay. You can do it. Any suggestions for the first week? Anytime you're craving, listen, don't worry about fasting and meal times. And literally for your first week, eat meat and drink electrolytes. Have some salt-based electrolytes. I mentioned it earlier. Element was the sponsor of this video. You can make your own from their website. If you go to their website or you don't want to buy the packets, you can make their recipe. But have salt-based electrolytes are really going to minimize any symptoms that you're experiencing from the carb withdrawal, from the keto withdrawal. And then eat meat. If you want some pizza, have some bacon. If you're craving something late at night, have some bacon. If you're craving something in the afternoons, have some chicken wings. Like, eat any meat that sounds good to you. Eat yourself till you're stuffed. And then after a couple of weeks, when you're past that beginning transition, then you can start worrying about, okay, maybe I don't snack. Maybe I need to cut some things out. But as we wrap up today, share any big wins or stories that you have. Let's encourage some people. I'm going to pin some of these up. We'll do some fun little shout outs in the last minute here, and send you on a positive note. I just saw one. Okay. My A1C was 11.8 after 2 months low carb and 1 month carnivore. A1C was down to 5.7. Incredible job. Round of applause for Mr. David. Fantastic. Lost 40 pounds on carnivore, been off of it for the holidays, but getting back on January 1st. Now, you know, listen, you're not starting over. You know what you got to do. You've learned already. Let's do it. You are doing amazing. I am in week 3, down 17 pounds. Fantastic job. Listen, 3 weeks, you started at the hardest time right before Christmas. Super shout out. Everybody else, maybe starting January 1st, you should be super pumped, proud of yourself that you are a step ahead and you're 3 weeks in and already down 17 pounds. All right, what else? Good. Happy holidays, everybody. I am continue to put those in there. Set a goal for yourself. I'm going to do a live stream in 1 month from now. So end of January, if you don't want to join the locals community, no problem. But I will do another goal. It's just nice to have accountability, like someplace where you're going to check in and tell everybody how you did. And it kind of keeps keep my face in the back of your mind this month as you're trying carnivore. And if you go to reach the cupcakes and the pizza and the cookies or whatever it is, have my face in your head going, check in with me end of the month. Okay. Come back and join my live stream that we do at the end of January. And you can tell us how your first month of carnivore went and how you are doing. So hope to see you before then, but if not, have a happy new year and let's hit some goals in World Carnivore Month. Bye guys.